Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's well. Ah, Happy Friday for those that are here live, for those that are joining me at any time. Thanks so much for doing that. Thank you for those that are emailing in. We've been talking a lot about this concept of staying empowered, and today's Q&A Friday. Q&A Friday. So I want to take some of your questions and see if we can get to them together. I think it's important people ask questions because it gives us a nuance to things that may be unclear or just sort of how one applies something. I got a question from Richard. Thank you so much for your kind words. You described that the best way to deal with the situation that you perceive there is a problem is to ignore signals you receive and address the matter only if someone else raises it with you. Right. There's a Jewish concept called being mivater, which that aligns with that. I'll explain what that means maybe next week. However, it's very possible that waiting for the other party to express themselves could be too late to repair potential damage. The other person may only express themselves if things get so bad that they explode. This would make it very hard to patch things up, restore the relationship, create an even bigger problem that could have been avoided if you were just proactive in addressing problems that you are sensitive to. Why wait to reach an irreparable point? What an awesome question, Richard. I think I got this in like 7 different versions. For those that are trying to follow, we've been talking the whole week about not guessing what is in someone else's head. Well, if I don't and I miss something, will that ultimately come to blow up in my face? Or worse, will it ruin the relationship? Right? If my spouse or child is sending me these signals and I'm missing them and they hold them in, well, then they ultimately continue to hold in the signals. And then will I later, when they finally say it, when they can bring themselves to say it, will it almost be too late? The goal of not guessing what's in someone else's head is not to absolve ourselves of the relationship, right? The goal is not to say, I'm going to be totally not paying attention to you and your needs so that I can walk around basically like ignorant. Ignorant is not bliss. Ignorant is just ignorant. Bliss is working out what you need with knowledge that you gain to live a life you're supposed to live. Bliss is what you feel like after you've done something really, really hard, not when you put your head in the sand and forget you have problems in the first place. But if we don't approach these things in the right sequence, it blows up. So ask yourself, for the amount of time that I have guessed what's in someone else's mind, has that really built our relationship? Have I really been like on and I nailed it and I'm fixing it? Many times when we try to guess what's in someone else's head, we get it wrong. Maybe not 100% wrong, but wrong. Many times we get it at the wrong time. So the kid doesn't really need to talk. And the reason why we're bringing up the conversation is because we're offended. But it's hard for our brain to tell the difference between we're offended and there's an issue. And maybe more importantly, we are conditioning a relationship that can exist through mental communication. I don't have to say things now. I get to just be in a funk and everyone has to like cater to me to like figure out what's wrong with me. A lot of the reason why people condition themselves to not say things isn't because that's how they were born. Kids say whatever they want. It's because they don't think the person across them really cares. And so the mental, the lack of speaking it out comes, I think, in large part because we don't have a relationship in which we can speak. So as a result, I hold it. And then the thing bubbles up. If we had an open dialogue, communication, relationship, why would I hold it in if it bothers me? So understand that when you get to the level when you're talking to somebody, that especially an adult, that can't verbalize what they're feeling, you're already behind the eight ball. That's not an optimal relationship where somebody feels something and can't even express it, so they hold it in, waiting for you to guess it. This happens all the time. This happened recently to me, where we were in a certain business situation and the employees had a opinion of something of which they were complaining about. And we got on a conference call and I expressed to the CEO the reservations of his employees. And I said, right, guys? And there was like, well, it's not so bad. And now the employees are like backtracking. This happens more than once, where like I stand up for somebody in the business world, where I stand up for somebody who's been expressing frustration to the person that has been the source of his frustration. And as soon as I do, I look around and like they're not there anymore. Because the relationship is not one in which they could feel comfortable saying what they want to say. So as soon as the CEO walks into the room, they're all running for cover. That's not an optimal relationship. So understand that when we stop guessing what's in someone else's heads, I'm not saying you go from 100 to 0. I'm not saying you don't, I'm not saying you bury your head in the sand and allow whatever to go on, whatever go on. I'm not saying you're not sensitive. What I'm saying is you're not trying to guess what's in their head. What happens is the goal from here is not to be less engaged. The goal from here is to be more engaged. Because now you're free from the guessing. And now you're just free to give. So let's go to the scenario, and I hope that like through a roundabout we've answered the question. I walk down let's take this scenario. There's a relationship between two friends. So friend 1 sees friend 2, let's say, at an event. And, hi. Okay. Fine. Okay. Right? So clearly something's going on. In scenario 1, it's like, this is it. What's going on? What happened? She's mad at me. Let me pick up the phone. What did I do till we get it out? No, it's nothing. Or it's something. It's drama. Scenario 2, you're asking yourself, that was weird. First and foremost, did I do something? I don't think I did anything. Okay, then I'm not going to try to guess what's in her head. I see her the next time. How are you? You look amazing. How are the kids? Fine. Again, nothing changes. How you doing? I was thinking about you today. At some point, either that friend is going to have to say, by the way, I'm upset about something, because you're clearly not getting the mental darts that I'm shooting at you, or she's going to move on and grow up and say, whoa, wait a second, maybe I shouldn't be upset. She seems to be fine. Like, I guess I was wrong to be sensitive about that thing. But if you're continually giving to the relationship positivity, the positivity that you shine on people will always expel the darkness and will either cause that person to condition positivity, to recognize that the person's not getting the negative vibe. So either I have to move on or I have to bring it up. But in either case, you are free to be positive. You're not free to leave. You're not free to reduce your filter and say whatever you want and not care if people hate me. That's not freedom. That's just being selfish. But you are free to stay positive. And I don't know about you, but if I look back in my life, I would say 50, 60, 70% of day-to-day issues resolve themselves with positivity. There are things you do to people that upset them. But for the most part, the sensitivities that we have get resolved when we just keep on being positive and move on. Right? That's why when you see people that like don't have a lot of interaction, they can really hold grudges, sometimes more than people that see every single day. Right? Sometimes it's harder. Many times it's harder to hold a grudge against someone you live with than someone that you don't live with, because if they do something that upsets you, as long as the relationship is healthy, you are constantly retouching and re-engaging. At some point, you sort of move past the thing you're upset. If you don't have a lot of touch points with the person and they do something that's upset, it carries and grows. So as opposed to trying to figure it all out, whenever you see somebody disengaging, as opposed to trying to figure out what's the problem, here's a better solution. Just turn up the light. Just turn up the positivity. If someone's like upset with you, as opposed to being like, what did I do? What did I do? Well, just stop. I have no idea. I'm not in their head. Maybe I should reach out and just say, Shabbat Shalom. Maybe I should reach out and go, you look beautiful. And they go, fine, click. Just keep at it. Between me and you, sometimes I find it to be a drop fun. Thank God, God has saved me from a lot of this stuff. Thank God. I don't have a lot of, thank God it should continue, a lot of drama. It should only continue. But in the few times that I did, sometimes people would, like this would happen to me sometimes. People would call and say like, hey, can you do me a favor? And I wouldn't be able to for whatever reason. And then I see them like the next time they're like mad. Like, I guess I should have been more responsive or attentive to their, like, I guess when they call and they say, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, they assume that like, and sometimes I just can't. Either I don't have the time or the person, it's not a good idea, but I don't want to tell them, whatever. And I find that sometimes that like, I don't want to guess. I just turn up the positivity. I drop them a note like, by the way, I saw you did this. That's phenomenal. Or as I'm saying no, I like try to increase the level of expression that I have for our friendship. And I find many times that like just a couple of positive, shots across the bow, if you will, diffuses the tension. So that's where I'm going with this, which is if there are some significant issues, you got to deal with them. I'm not saying that like if you're sitting around in a relationship and it's like dysfunctional, you like wake up one morning, you're like, I'm not thinking anymore. Like I'm out. I'm not suggesting that. But I am suggesting that you stop guessing. Wherever you're in a situation of darkness, you just, as opposed to trying to figure out what it is and engage in it, you turn up the positivity. That's a big issue, and this is a big idea in Jewish thought. That when you engage in conflict, you end up being dirty yourself. There's a concept now. There's a concept in Judaism when you're engaged in war. You still have to, those in the old days, you brought the sacrifice. And the reason why is that even though you may have been justified in the war, you still killed somebody. When you engage in a fight, you may win, but you're still muddy. We had this story here with Lichatchila Ariba, which is the story of the Lubavitch Rebbe who says, always go over. In many ways, that's a lot of life. Sometimes the best solution is you go above it. You rise above it. You can't engage in it. This happens, recently somebody called me with this also. It was a what's the name fight. I mean, gosh, these are disasters. An inheritance. Man, these inheritance fights. Sometimes I got to tell you, I wonder if in heaven, people of wealth that have left an inheritance to their kids are wishing they didn't have it, and they just give their kids nothing, and the kids would all love each other. Some families, God should bless them. God should bless them. Everything is well. Mom and dad leave some money, and then it's war. Just God should bless them. They should just see the truth. That family is more important than dollars and cents. Money comes and goes. Anyways, money comes from God. Different conversation. Anyways, so I got a call once from a woman who was like in pain. She's like lost her family. Mom and dad left money. And like the family, like, that's it. They took sides, and then, you know, the most aggressive one took the most money. It would forget about it. And my only advice to her was, you got to go above it. You got to go, once you get into the dispute, if there's, listen, I'm a lawyer by training. So if right and wrong, you're allowed to go to court. You're allowed to have a conversation. You're allowed to engage in the analysis and in the conflict to figure out what's truth. Like when you open up a page of Talmud, they're not like, we should all get along, like let's hold hands and sing kumbaya. They fight over truth. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying, when you're not engaged in that and it's just a drama, you're not going to like fight. You're not going to win a dramatic battle. It's emotions. Emotions is fighting in a dusty war. You got to go above it. Be above it. Set an example. There's a great story. I'm trying to remember his name. I'm trying to remember his name. I'm going to remember his name next time. My friend Harry told me this great story about a guy who was a pillar in the Syrian community. And he, in business, had got into a conflict with someone in the community. This is a great story. And they were fighting each other legally. They did business together, and then they fell out, whatever it was. So the guy walks into the room of like a wedding or something, and this individual who's like a pillar in the community, I'm gonna get his name. He recently passed away. Maybe Miriam knows. I don't know if Miriam is on. Maybe Miriam knows who this person is. A Syrian person who's very involved in the community, who just passed away recently. He was very involved in the Special Children's Center. If you know what I'm talking about. Stanley Chira, thank you. I knew she'd know. Miriam killed it. Stanley Chira. I don't know if you guys know who Stanley Chira is. Superstar. Incredible guy. Stanley Chira. Stanley Chira was a power of a man. And my friend Harry told me the story. I don't know who the people were. He didn't give me the details of it, but he told me that he knew of the story. That this guy and Stanley were involved in a legal dispute in business. What happens in business? You get involved in a legal dispute. So the guy walks into an event, and Stanley's in the room. Stanley was like a grandfather of the community. And the guy just like makes a beeline away from Stanley. Like he doesn't want to see him because he thinks he's mad at him. Like they're involved in a legal dispute. So he's sitting around, and all of a sudden, this guy looks over and he sees Stanley Chira, and Stanley Chira catches his eye and goes like this. This guy's 30 years younger. Listen to this. This is such a great story. 30 years younger than this guy. For those of you who know the Syrian community, you understand, like, it's a very traditional, family-based community. You know, you get a call over from like the senior statesman. This guy walks up to him and he says, "What happened?" And the guy's thinking, "No, about the lawsuit." He goes, "Lawsuit?" He says, "You walk into a room, we know each other, our families know each other for 30 years. You walk into a room, you walk away from me for a couple of dollars? Are you crazy? We know each other for 30 years, we're family. We walk into a room, I don't care what's going on in the business. You walk in the room, you walk up to me, you say, Mazel Tov, you give me a kiss? Come on. You're letting money get in the way of family?" Gives him a kiss. It's Mazel Tov, in Syrian for Mazel Tov, also they say Mabruk. He continues on. And the guy walked away and said, "Holy cow." Stanley's 30 years older. This guy initiated the conflict. If there's anyone that should have been the guy who pulls away from it, Stanley should have been like, "Get out of here." But he rose above it. He rose above it. What? I'm getting involved in this little drama? You out of your mind? Family. You know each other 30 years. Come give me a kiss. Say Mazel Tov. We'll deal with business on Monday morning. Now, of course, there's a lot of nuance here. But that's the point. That's what we're trying to drive towards. Those are the people this is what we're trying to be. We're trying to be big people here. We're trying to rise above it. We get lost in so much nonsense. There are families that are lost in nonsense. It's It's inconsequential. And their friends are being broken up. Kids aren't talking to each other. It's, if you break down what it was and you get to the core of it, it was little things that blew up and blew up and blew up. And we think the way we handle it is by engaging in everything, but it's not how it works. Because the more you engage in every inconsequential, every little sensitivity, it's just drama upon drama. It never ends. We condition relationships to be dramatic. It's overly dramatic. We condition children that when they hit a wall, they need to go and see this and take this and do all. And listen, I'm all into seeing people and taking things if you need it, but we condition each other that when we hit conflict, we like collapse. Everything's a big deal. We don't have enough. Go above it. Gain perspective. At the end of the day, we're family. At the end of the day, we're two souls trying to do good in this world. At the end of the day, the greatest challenges we have is getting close to the Creator. At the end of the day, it's dollars and cents. You're my wife, you're my husband, you're my family, you're my friends. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm just human and you're human. Go above it. And when we have that perspective, we stop trying to figure the person out. Because by the way, half the time that we're trying to figure a person out, we're really trying to defend ourselves. We think we're really not, we are. Half the time we're trying to figure someone else, half of it is, and you don't take care of me. It's half selfish. Trust me, it's much harder to walk into a room and dial up positivity, even if you think someone's mad at you, than to walk in and like figure out why they're mad. It's much harder to see that guy 20 years younger than you who just took you to court, call him over and give him a kiss, than it is to be like, who's this guy and who's that guy and what did he... It's being a big person. We're entering the high holiday time. What God wants from us is to be big people. And big people don't get lost in inconsequential fights. They're big. They're big people. They walk into a room and they shine their light. They shine their light on people. They just shine. They shine. They're not heavy. They're not, you don't have to like constantly make sure, people like this, they're just constantly making sure that they're okay. It's like to manage their emotional capacity. It's always, big people are emotionally self-reliant. They know their power comes from God. They know that they're born a soul, and they know their job in this world is to give people light, and they shine everywhere. They are this massive torch. They are a bonfire. They walk into a room and they smile and they compliment and they're good. They're not interested in what's in your head and what's in this guy's head and this game and that game. They're a breath of fresh air. The best way to dispel darkness is light. Hanukkah, not there yet. One candle lights up the world. We need to become candles. And if we spend more time turning up our light, in my humble opinion, we will spend less time figuring out someone else's darkness. All right, we'll continue. I'm sorry I went off on this. We have more questions. I'm sorry. As you can tell, I care about this because I believe that we can be this way. And I believe we should be this way. And I believe this is what God wants of us, to be big. You ever tell the kids, be the bigger one? I think God's telling that to us every day. All right, we'll continue. Oh, God, do I love you guys. I love you guys. I really do. Thanks for being here. Thanks for doing this. Thanks for being together. We're a community. I appreciate it. I'm honored by you. And I hope we get to continue this. We'll be doing this again with God's help on Sunday. So if you take Labor Day off, have a good time. If you're still on, I'll see you Sunday. Have a great weekend. Have a good Shabbos, Shabbat Shalom. And with God's help, I just can't wait to see you again next week.